Welcome to Diverse and Converse. This month, we are joined by some wonderful guests who will educate you on topics you may not have heard on this show yet. You'll have the chance to listen to four amazing panelists about their businesses, the way they help communities, and how working together for the global majority is important for our livelihood. While some of these conversations may be uncomfortable or new, this is a chance to connect, learn, and grow. As always, we are here and gathered, and we're reminded that we are situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people today. As a show, we have a responsibility and stewardship of the land on which we live and work. And today we acknowledge this territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties. I am always so grateful for the opportunity to be able to do the work I get to do because of our Indigenous brothers and sisters in the lands that we once settled on. And today we are so grateful to have these wonderful panelists. Make sure you follow Diverse and Converse for more information on their bios and to get to know more about them on our Instagram. Trisha Smith, I'm so excited to have you here. It'll be a nice little excited for my assistant as well to see you here as you have some relation to him, and it will just be a nice little surprise. And we're so grateful to have you on our show today.
Thank you so much.
And Noni, it's just so beautiful to see you, the wonderful queen that you are. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming on.
you.
Yes.
Thank you for inviting us.
And of course, Omar, we cannot forget about you, the king on the show today. And we're just so grateful to have you on today.
Thank you so much, Queen. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to be here as well.
It's honestly just so nice to have all of your souls here and to see you, Jodi. We're so happy to have you here today. That beautiful smile, always ready and willing to go. And just thank you again for being on the show, taking some of your time, taking some of your energy for what we get to do. And now, this month on Rogers TV, I know our viewers have been continuously engaged on all topics, experiences, and education. And this episode in particular, I think will be a really great learning experience for all. I think we should just start off by getting to know a bit about your businesses and what you each do. And perhaps, Trisha, we'll start with you.
Hey, hello everyone. My business name is Sacred Synergy. I am a nutritionist, a certified herbalist, and also a certified life coach. I do wellness consultations. I also provide guided meditations, and I make herbal medicine. So anything from tonics to teas to tinctures, I'm your girl.
Yes, you
I'm
is.
also an author. So I do create ebooks as well. I have an ebook on high blood pressure and also for stress, and more in the making as we go along.
That's it. And it's really, once our viewers get engaged, you can check out websites and get all the information. And it's just so wonderful to have your energy and spirit here today.
Thank you so much.
Noni, do you want to share a little bit about you and about your business? I know there's a little bit of a business duo here today, but we'll start off with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Queen. Hi, everyone. My name is Noni, and I am a mom and a wife, and also co-founder of the nonprofit organization called Organja Society. I'm also very involved in community. Community not only locally but also internationally. I'm a part of the Ethiopian World Federation, also an ambassador of the State of the African Diaspora, and I love to have fun. I love to party. I love to dance and, listen to music. And yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Oh, I love that. It's just so great. And your background really reflects that music and dance spirit,
Yeah,
energy.
thank you.
And how about I go to your other half and the partner in crime? Omar, do you want to give a little bit of background about what you do?
Greetings, everyone. It's Omar Sankofa. The business that I'm involved in is Organja Society and the Healing Stream Initiative, which involves a number of organizations. Basically, the work that we're doing right now is to bring community businesses and organizations together. There's so many brilliant minds, intelligent minds, and just so much ingenuity in our community that we felt it was really our responsibility to try to figure out how to bring all of these uh, businesses, organizations, and ecosystems together. And that's majority of the work that we do. Organja Society is involved in indigenous medicines and indigenous systems, promoting indigenous trade. And the Healing Stream is really about bringing all of the organizations together.
I'm not sure when you get rest, but I hope that you do find time to rest and take care of yourself amongst all the things, wonderful things that you're doing for the community.
Thank you.
And how about yourself, Jodi? We'll pass it on to you.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here tonight. My name is Jodi-Ann. I'm the founder of Malcolm's Choice, and Malcolm's Choice is a marketing and advertising company and social enterprise, and we connect people with trusted Black-owned businesses across Canada. Our business is very much focused here in the Greater Toronto area right now, where we have an online business directory as well as a printed business directory where we showcase a number of local businesses that are in the community and doing amazing products and services. Just recently, we've opened a new studio in downtown Brampton, and we offer private and corporate events out of that studio, as well as functionalities for the businesses that we serve, like branding, photography, product shoots. If you have a workshop or webinar that you need some place to operate out of, we do offer the space for that as well. So that's me in a nutshell, and Malcolm's Choice.
Amazing, Jodi. All the work that you are doing is just so incredible, and the ways that you're able to give back to the platforms and all to the businesses who are doing a lot of hard work as well. It's just incredible how powerful and soul-filling each of you are. I remember, just after our panel discussion, I had to send you all an email about how energized I was that day because I was feeling super low and super down and just not myself. But after that, I was so re-energized again. And that was because of each of you and your spirits. It was once again reinforcing that thought about Black excellence. And Jodi, why do you believe the work in connecting Black businesses and amplifying their messages is so important?
I think it's super important that us as a community, we support our local businesses and organizations. I think that whenever we, listen to TV and we listen to the Prime Minister, he's always like, small businesses are the backbone of Canada. And then that makes me think in turn that Black businesses are the backbone of our community. And the stronger that we're able to make ourselves and build a foundation, a strong foundation of economics, the more power that we're going to have. And I think that's really what Malcolm's Choice is about. We all have that choice where we can choose and consciously choose that we're going to be supporting a member of our community or somebody that looks like us, because ultimately I think that will lead to future employment opportunities for our young people, as well as just better community health overall.
Would you say that you need to see this more in our mainstream media and in our news coverage?
Yeah, I always think about it when I'm watching like just the regular TV and I see the advertisements that are coming across the screen, right? And like even CP24, for example, when I sit there and I watch and I see the different types of advertisements and the different types of businesses that they're advertising, I never see a business that of somebody that maybe looks like me. And I think it's important for us to have that exposure and create that brand awareness for the local brands that we have as well, because I think they're doing an amazing job. And sometimes those procurement opportunities don't come to them, or they're just not aware of those procurement opportunities with even the cities or with the governments. And so I think that we do need to shine a greater light onto Black businesses, and particularly like supporting the business owners. It's come to light over the last year that access to funding and access to a number of other business resources that are important for small business owners, that access sometimes is limited. And I think that awareness is a key piece of that. So yeah, definitely mainstream media and making sure that those conversations in those businesses can be heard and seen.
Absolutely. And thank you, Jodi, because I think that that's such a great point. Even growing up in my city, I found it incredibly challenging because I was never seeing people who looked like me. So when we amplify businesses, it's a great way to access stories about ourselves, get messages out about our community that we're not alone. And that feeling of being alone can be incredibly heavy. I mean, even like the last 15 years, I think of my life has just been incredibly heavy. and the weight of mental health has grown in our communities. Nearly 40% of Black Canadians are dealing with self-reported mental health. And I really want to be clear about that, that is self-reported. Like so many times in our community, these conversations go completely missed and don't even get discussed. So Noni, why do you see the need for healing in our community? And where does this openness about mental health come in? And how can we have these conversations?
Hi, great question. It's we haven't seen an increase in mental health since I would say last year when all of this pandemic hit. I mean, mental health straight across the board. This is the time when a lot of people's faith will be tested. A lot of people are dealing with issues of their family situation, their marriage, their children. A lot of us in this time are forced to deal with a lot of situations that we weren't necessarily dealing with head on, and due to everything that happened within the last almost 2 years now. A lot of people are made now or forced to deal with a lot of the things that they basically kind of swept under the rug or didn't really pay attention to. There's lots of parents out there that send their children to school or daycare, and they don't really spend a lot of time to really get to know their children. And with this now, like we're forced to deal with our children. We're forced to see even our own parenting. There's a mirror almost that has been reflected back to us to make us deal with those traumas that we all have inside. And unfortunately, we don't have proper systems and structures set up to deal with these types of issues when it comes to our community. Unfortunately, we succumb to the system and their approach to mental health, which is usually, putting them on meds. And unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily solve the problem. Last year, I was very fortunate to put together a meditation circle called the Groundation Healing and Meditation Circle. And basically what this was because of the outcry of a lot of women that are at home and, just having to deal with a lot of things that were happening in their lives and didn't know necessarily who to turn to, who to speak to. And, the spirit just kept telling me, there's work for you to do. There's people that are calling on you. There's people that need you. And so I created this circle to invite Indigenous women of color to come in various age gaps. So we have from the youngest about in her late 20s to mid 60s. We gather there every day and we do meditation, different types of meditation. So that has helped them tremendously in terms of dealing with all the turmoil that we have to deal with on a regular basis. Some, just starting out your day, dealing with your own self, finding time for self, reflecting on self, and doing the necessary work to take on whatever situation it is that faces us on a day-to-day basis. So I feel that there needs to be more safe spaces available to our community. I feel also that we need to also tap into our ancient traditional African healing systems, because I feel that we understand those types of mental health. And so I feel that if we go back to our ancient systems and traditions, I feel that is a way that we would be able to help in relieving a lot of this stuff that's going on within our community.
I love that. And, when I traveled to Ghana, I remember one of the women in one of the tribes that we met, one of the Ashanti tribes, was just reminding me, like, when I eat, because I have such gut problems, like I need to start eating to my lands and to the DNA and to my roots. And that really stuck with me, and that kind of concept. And it really did change a whole way that my body was running from necessarily like my Western system. And those alternative pieces are just so important. So I thank you for bringing that up. And there are so many alternative ways to medicine and healing that happens within our global majority, whether that's, the African diaspora, whether that's our Caribbean community, whether that be our Indigenous community. And it doesn't per se fit what the Western white norm is. And
They
I know
don't understand it. Yes. They don't
Exactly.
understand they don't understand how to deal with these types of trauma. Instead, they would rather just, give them medication and let them just kind of walk around like zombies. And just, I mean, some people need it in order to function, but that is not going to be a cure in helping them be able to function without, medication.
Yeah, and there's a time and a place. Like, and I
Yeah.
think, Trisha, I think this is a really great question for you then. How do we look at that nutrition, and how do we look at what was the word you had said? Preventative medicine, other routes to that our community that can be beneficial.
Well, I think preventative medicine is so important. I mean, within the Black community, the majority of us are dying from heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, and including high blood pressure. And I mean, all of these things are preventative. But when you really look at the root cause of what's causing all of these diseases, going right back to what Noni was saying, is the healing that's needed. It's stress, right? The root cause of all disease is stress. So what does stress do? Stress makes your cells very acidic. Disease cannot thrive in an oxygenated cell, and you need an alkalizing diet for that. So when you're stressed out, your cells become acidic, and you're more prone to getting sick. Your blood pressure raises, your sugar levels raises, and then when the stress is prolonged, it can cause problems like high blood pressure. It can cause problems like diabetes. So it's really about going back to the root cause, and dealing with that as a preventative. So some things that we can do, and I mean, stress is inevitable, right? We wake up in the morning, we go to work, we're stuck in traffic. That's stressful. We go to work, we got a big presentation, that's stressful. We have children, stress is inevitable. But that being said, the biological effects that it causes in the body can actually be prevented. And that's where I come in as a herbalist and a nutritionist, recommending supplements and herbs and things of that nature to actually help counteract those biological effects of stress. And that's where the healing can come in more on a physical level. So, I would definitely recommend things like a B complex. A B complex vitamin is extremely important. And I think that everybody should be taking it. So long as you know how to swallow supplements, vitamins, you should be taking that. And that is good for helping counteracting stress, good for helping balance and strengthen the nervous system. And then you have herbs like, rhodiola, ashwagandha. These are all, or even my cool and calm tea, that you could find at sacredsynergy.com, that's filled with adaptogenic herbs like lemon balm and lavender and things of that nature. And what that does is, again, neutralize the biological effects of stress. So when you're stressed out, cortisol levels rises in your blood, right? And this is a hormone that can actually wreak havoc in your body if it's there for too long. So what these herbs will do is help neutralize that cortisol and bring it back down, thus helping prevent the diabetes, thus helping prevent high blood pressure and things of that nature. So I think it's super, super important for people to deal with the stress in their life first, because it's so easy for someone to say, drink more water, eat more vegetables, have more grains in your diet. But if you come home and you're angry, anger actually makes you crave salt. So you're going to want salt. You're going to want something crunchy, right? And too much salt in the diet is a precursor to high blood pressure. So if you take care of that anger, right, you won't crave salt, and you'll probably want an apple instead of, Miss Vicky's salt and vinegar chips or something like that. So that's what I've been doing lately, is really helping people deal with that emotional trauma and the stress in their life. And again, exactly what Noni was saying, healing is so important, and not starting from a physical level, but more from a mental level first, right? So even doing things like meditation, even if it's 10 minutes a day, even if it's joining Noni's meditation group, if you are an Indigenous woman of color, I think that is an amazing group to be a part of. Doing yoga, qigong, some sort of, alternative medicine, meditative practice, whether it be shamanic journeying, chakra healing, Reiki, any sort of energy work that's going to help realign the energies of the body to just help you, you know. Um, and I think once that is addressed, it will help, eating healthier easier, you know, because there's been many people that have helped over the years. A lot of people stick with the program. A lot of people fall off because, again, just that the anxiety of, living in the hood, or, just having, children and being a single mom, and access, the lack of access to clean and healthy foods, or feeling like you don't have the money to eat healthy. All of these things play a role in the way that we feel emotionally. So I think addressing that first is super, super important in, when it comes on to health, and especially healing in terms of mind, body, and spirit, because we really can't separate the three.
That's so true. As I look at like my bag of chips beside me for later, like I am, it happens so easily. We put the things that are so valuable to us to do first, like last on the list. I'm like, okay, but I'll get to my self-care last because I need to do all these emails, and like I'll be fine. But it is so important to nurture that side of our soul and nurture that side of our spirit. So that's I just love how all of you already have just talked about how healing is just such a part of our journey, and it's an okay part of our journey as well. We don't necessarily have to be embarrassed about what that journey includes, whether that be anger or sadness, or whether that be success and joyfulness. And, within all of that, getting our mental and our physical health and state is key. And then once you do that, we can move on to the next steps. So I
I
think,
agree.
yeah. Now, we've worked on our mental health, we've worked on our physical health, and we're attentive to all that. Really, now it kind of comes down to like our economic structure. There are over 1 million Black Canadians, and we make up roughly about 4% of home ownership in all of Canada. It is just an insane statistic to think that we have that many Black Canadians in all of Canada, and only 4% of us are even thinking about home ownership, or even have that access to that thought or that discussion. And Omar, I would love for you to break down some of the important reasons why healthy macroeconomic systems for our global majority is important. Like, building wealth is health also.
It's such an organic discussion because looking at what's been presented here today, whether it's holistic medicine, whether it's meditation, whether it's bringing our businesses together, we need infrastructure. So I would say it's a positive experience that happened to me, because what happened is I realized that if we continue to wait on the system and the systemic changes, we're going to go more generations, and more of our generations are going to see that economic gap that you were just speaking of, just with that example of the percentage of homeowners with the amount of us and in the population. So what we're really trying to do right now is to find ways to build structures to support all of these businesses, all of the health and wellness, or food security, food sovereignty, even housing, real estate, and come together in that way to support one another, so that we can also create structures where we're not depending on government funding for all the things that we need to do. There's so much talent, there's so much brilliance in our community, and there's so much ingenuity that there's no reason why we can't take our entities and all of these valuable inputs and bring them together to create something that's more self-reliant. And that's in line with what Marcus Garvey was doing in the past. I'm definitely a student of Marcus Garvey as well. And I'm very proud to say that that's what's happening organically. We've seen it happen for other nations and other communities. And I think that's great when you can actually look at other communities who've faced similar struggles and been able to come together and make things happen. I said something today, and it was about unification. It truly is a science. And we have yet to position ourselves, I won't quote it exactly how I said it, but we've yet to position ourselves in a way that we can even actualize what unity really means. there's already a mentality and a certain blockage that allows that to happen. And once we do that, then we can find that in terms of a macro level economics, we'll be able to affect change. And of course, on a micro level, it will affect us in an enriching way in our households.
I love that. I feel like I could learn so much from you about economics and the whole system and the wealthy, healthy system that it is, because I think that like stream and that understanding of sharing that wealth together is just really important for our community to come together on. My one of my roommates always says to me, like, there is a million different types of bread. You don't have to just shop for Wonder Bread. There is opportunity for everyone and there's money for everyone, especially if we're working together to create that wealth for everyone. So I really appreciate your wisdom and insight on that informative answer. And
I
it's
give
just
thanks.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that way we can all make money. There's no
That's
reason to compete.
collective economics is where it's at, and not just on a local level, but a global level as well. This is a very global world economically and in terms of commerce and trade. So there's no reason why there can't be joint efforts on a global basis, especially considering the African diaspora.
That's it. And I am here for it because I'm ready to see that change. We have been ready for change like 100 years ago, 100 plus years ago. So we will talk more about that change and more about healthy living and wealthy living when we return from the break. So tune in shortly. If you're just joining us, we are here with four wonderful, energized panelists who have been educating us on the value of us, whether that be in our businesses, whether that be in our community, or whether that be in our socioeconomic structure. And again, I thank all of you for being here and sharing your knowledge with us today. And we'll just take it back to you, Trisha, because I feel like quite often when it comes to mental health, wellness, healing of any sorts, our community tends to run away. Either we just don't talk about it, or it's just too uncomfortable, or it's too unaffordable. But I know you've talked about ways that we can heal and use preventative medicine in a very inexpensive way. So I'm hoping that you could give people some advice on ways that we can take care of ourselves and still be affordable and a soluble option.
Yeah, definitely. Again, like, I mean, a lot of people think that when you are going on this journey of eating healthy, that you have to eat organic, that you have to run to Whole Foods and Healthy Planet and drop $500 on a grocery bill, and that's eating healthy. And that's really not the case. You can go to your local Loblaws, your No Frills, your Price Chopper. Well, I don't even know if we still have Price Chopper, but your your food basics, whatever it may be, and spend. I always tell my clients, if you don't know what to buy, spend, if you're in the grocery store for 30 minutes, spend 20 minutes in the produce section. Most of what you should be picking up is in the produce section, right? So just ensuring that you are incorporating some sort of greens with your food. So I feel like the staple diet amongst, Black people is chicken and rice. That's what we eat. What do you have for dinner? Chicken and rice. What do you have for dinner? Brown stew chicken and rice, or fried chicken and rice, jerk chicken and rice. You know, so let's just add a little bit of greens in there. Let's put some cabbage in there. Get a slice of avocado. Instead of eating rice, parboiled rice or white rice, how about we supplement that with some couscous? How about we supplement that with some quinoa? You know, instead of frying the chicken, how about we bake the chicken? Or how about we substitute that chicken for fish or maybe even tofu one day? So it's really all about just allowing yourself to have variety and experience different types of food that you may not have necessarily grown up with, you may not necessarily be familiar with, but be open to trying. Like, I mean, there's so many vegan Instagram pages. It doesn't even have to be vegan, just different Instagram pages where people are showcasing different recipes. There's a whole bunch of Caribbean recipe books out there. There's juice fasting. There's so many things that we could do that, again, like if you compare how much it costs to buy, like, 2 bundles of callaloo, a head of cabbage, some lettuce, and maybe some collard greens, that would probably come up to like, I don't know, $15 versus, 6 pounds of oxtail, or, 7 pounds of chicken, which is going to cost you $30, $40. So a lot of people say that eating healthy costs a lot, but it really doesn't. It actually costs more money to buy McDonald's, which is like $11, $12 for one meal, right? It actually costs more to buy goat and oxtail, which is red meat that we need to definitely tone down on, including beef. I'm not telling people not to eat meat, because I myself, I do eat meat. But in terms of the red meat, that's where the saturated fat is. That's where the high cholesterol comes in. That's where the heart problems come in, right? So we need to be conscious of the type of meat that we're eating. Um, so again, it's really just about being conscious of what you're picking up when you go into the grocery store. Incorporating a more vegetarian diet is definitely going to be more cheaper than, a carnivore diet, which contains meat. And then again, like, if you know that you're not ready to make that change of eating healthier, drink more water and get your supplements. That is the very least. And 10 minutes a day of just being in silence. A lot of people say that they can't meditate, but it's really just the process of observing your own thoughts. So if you're sitting there and your mind is racing, that's okay. Let the thoughts come and go. That is what meditation is, until you get to that point where you're able to actually control, what's going on as you focus on the breath. You know what I mean? And different techniques that Noni has in her meditation group. So again, if you're not ready to make that diet change, just increase your water intake. This is what I tell people: increase your water intake, cut out the pop, cut out lessen the red meat, and buy your supplements. Get probiotics, get multivitamins, get a B complex. So at least you know that you have something to deal with the stress. You have your multivitamins that's going to give you your recommended daily intake of nutrients that your body needs, that your cell needs to function, which is crucial, especially if you are a junkie. And when I say junkie, I mean McDonald's and Burger King is your life, right? Um, and probiotics, because 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And a lot of us have unhealthy guts due to birth control pills, due to antibiotics, due to too much sugar intake. And this is what makes us constipated, right? This is what makes us sick. So it's important that we start taking probiotics, increasing our water, taking a multivitamin, taking a B complex, and doing a detox. You can go on my website at sacredsynergy.com, grab the delicious detox. We need to detox at least, at the very, very minimum, 4 times a year. I always tell people at the beginning of every season change. So we just came into the fall equinox last September 22nd. We should have all been doing a colon and liver detox. Get that gunk out, start fresh for the new season. And doing that detox is going to ensure that your energy is on point, and again, you're not leaving room for any sort of disease to fester.
Yeah. And that's, taking those steps, even if they're small, like you don't have to do all those steps at once and like feel overwhelmed, because that's exactly what usually happens to people.
Yeah.
Take one step
Step
at a
time. I
But
even tell people, if you still want to eat McDonald's, instead of ordering the root beer and the Sprite, order water. Eat your Big Mac and fries, but instead of ordering the pop, order some water. And that is a step forward in the right direction, because baby steps is going to lead you to more baby steps, is going to lead you to greater change in the end. So I totally agree.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think baby steps for everything that we do is so important. And Omar, I'll bring this over to you, because it really can be daunting when we look at economics and we look at wealth for our community when we're trying to take care of ourselves. I'm really curious what advice you would have given yourself 5 years ago, or even last year, maybe 10 years ago, that might inform our community now? And if we aim for that idea, how do we keep unity on the table without segregating ourselves?
Um, I think the greatest thing I've learned is that self-sufficiency is really where it's at. Just continuing off where Trish has left off, you have to look at, there's a lot of people in my circles that they collect their own water. I know Trish does that herself. Um, they soak their beans. They start a little garden for themselves. So even when you're talking about your health, because your economics really start with your health. If you're not starting with health with your economics, then what are you doing it for? Where's your longevity? Where's your sustainability in any of that, right? um, but self-sufficiency in every way, trying to generate some income. The idea, I mean, I think people have been beating it, quite a bit now over the past few years, but becoming entrepreneurial is really where it's at as well. You're dealing with home economics, you're dealing with um, children, young people growing up. A lot of us weren't taught economics growing up. So just being economical in the home, number one, is the first foundation. And then also two, incorporating your family into any entrepreneurial efforts. That is where I would say that people can take things into their own hands rather than having to rely on, something outside of the home. So start with the home first. Just like your health, just like everything else, start home first, central first. I think that that's probably the best advice I could give to anyone.
I love that. And you know what? There's so many Black entrepreneurs I've been following on like YouTube or Instagram who say start at home and take it that I don't like to say maybe the word advantage, but you have this amazing family of people that you can trust or community. Maybe they're not blood, but they're community for sure, and people that are um, family by name. And I think it's so important to create that. And we've seen that in how you've worked in your tribe into the community that has been happening over this last year. And it's just been so beautiful to watch that bloom, watch everyone flourish from that as well.
Let me tell you, Queen, I'll say this if I can jump in for a second.
Of course.
I've done it the wrong way, where I've done business in the past where, my children, the older ones, felt very alienated.
Mhm.
As much as I tried to involve them, just
Right.
getting them involved more, and especially at a younger age when they're more impressionable,
Mhm.
that also brings about unity. So, you can't have proper economics without unity. So a lot of these themes are always interwoven. And that's where I would say it really starts is the home and getting the family involved. And if, who can't be involved or doesn't want to be, that's okay. But you're always going to find one or two, either family or close friends, where you're actually practicing an economical system of transactions together. That's where things start.
I love that. This would be the moment I pull out the Michelle Montano song Family and start waving my flag because that's the energy that that gives me. And Jodi, I'll bring it over to you. Um, so we said roughly 1.2 million Canadians identify as Black, and they represent 3.5% of the population. So in a Black by Canada survey, stats found that only 2,000 Black owned businesses had any significant scale. Jodi, I'd absolutely love this statement on your website where you said infusing our money into Black owned businesses and our knowledge and resources into Black entrepreneurs can create a new narrative, one business at a time.
That's
So,
right.
how can we change these statistics? Are there ways that we can use digital marketing and social enterprise to help elevate the work that Black owned businesses are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely, again, I always want to say it starts with awareness. I always want to say it starts with awareness because yeah, there are 2,000 that have scaled, but imagine how many more could have scaled if we were aware of them and we were actively supporting them. I think that as a community, and I know that we're all touched on unity and sticking together, but as a community, we have a lot of power in our resources, and that resource is our money, right? And where we put our money, I think that's where it's gonna scale. So like a business, more than anything, like that a business needs from us as a community is for us to actively like buy from them and circulate our money throughout our businesses and keep that money circulating in our community so that we can grow and we can scale. Another thing that I always like to say is that, like you mentioned, we only make up 4% of the population. And I think we're as a business owner, if we're only trying to sell to 4% of the population, like we're alienating a whole like 96%. I was about to show my math skills there, guys, but I'm sorry. We're alienating a whole 96%, right? And I think that I was strategically thinking about formulating my business, I called it Malcolm's Choice as opposed to like my Black this or my Black that. And that's not because I'm not Black and I don't identify as Black, but I think that the products and the services that we have to offer and that our businesses are selling, they're valuable to everybody, not just in our community, but also outside of our community. So instead of us just trying to sell to that 4% and say, hey, look at me, I'm a Black business, please support me, just focus on creating a quality product and delivering excellent service, and that way we can serve a wider and greater mass community as a whole, like in Canada, because I think each business is important to that us building block and building that foundation towards a greater Canada and even a greater Black community as well.
Yeah, I love that. It's about that 90%. We gotta grab them too. It's really important because otherwise we're just spending and spending on each other and giving back, which is great. But we need other people to start looking at us as just as businesses as well, outside of just Black owned businesses.
Exactly.
And that work that you do amplifying and giving a space for Black owned businesses to have like a directory is super cool. I love that opportunity, especially as one myself, having an area that you can even go. I know there's so many times I'm in a city and I want to make sure that I'm shopping in an area that's supporting my people. And that can be hard. That can be hard to find because Google's like, no, thank you. So taking that time and initiative to have these types of platforms are really great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And Organja has really been working hard to unite our African and Caribbean communities to create more cohesion for us. And I think often we have a bit of disconnect in our community, whether that's because the information isn't accessible or the information isn't getting out there, or our sisters and brothers just don't know where to go or even who to trust. And sometimes that can be within our own community. And Noni, I hope that you can just speak to this on how we can start spreading the information, gaining that network connection, and how do we build trust in our communities that was for so long broken because of white colonial violence?
That's a great question again. I think first, from what I had said earlier on, it all begins with self. I think we all have to basically figure out what those issues are within ourselves, in terms of why we don't trust, why we feel insecure. You know, we have to do our shadow work and go within and ask ourselves those serious questions. And I feel that once we start to get on that journey of going within and doing the inner work that we need to do, we will more understand in terms of where other people are at on their journey. Because we'll see that it's not very easy to really start doing that work. It's very hard. So I feel that I've always said this, that we're not going to have proper unity unless we start doing our work, because we will bring our insecurity into that work. We will bring, our not trusting people, being suspicious, not wanting to share your ideas. You feel that someone's going to steal your ideas. And like you had said earlier, Queen, is that, there's like a million loaves of bread out there. Everyone can come out with their idea, and we all could be in the same market selling similar products and still get and make money. So I really do feel that work is very, very necessary in order for us to come together. And if we don't do that work, it'll start to show. People will see it. People who are, doing their work, they will start to see the insecurities and all the, idiosyncrasies that people have and don't necessarily are not working on it, right? So,
Okay.
yeah, I honestly feel that, right now with the work that we're doing, and it has taken off tremendously with Organja and the healing stream ecosystem. And I feel that it's right now is a time of separation in a certain sense, even though we're coming together as a community. I feel that, you know, people who are sincere in the work, integral in the work, I feel that they're coming together. I don't know if you guys feel the same thing. I feel that we're connecting almost with our soul tribe. So there's a huge separation that's going on right now, and you will know who to connect to by that connection, that spiritual connection. I don't know how to explain it, but I know a lot of people can relate to what I'm saying. And you'll also know who not to connect with, because you'll feel that vibration and you'll feel that, okay, that person still has work to do on themselves and they're not necessarily ready yet to do the type of work that we're doing. So it's not to alienate anyone, but we all have our work to do. And it's important that we get on that. And only when you start to do that work will you start to connect with the right people. That's what I feel.
And that is so true. And I think that brings me right back to that email I sent y'all on Monday. Like, you feel this divine purpose or divine entanglement that happens when you meet these people. You feel this energized spirit that helps to keep you going on the days that are bad, or helps to remind you why we do this work,
Yeah.
or helps, push you in that direction.
And it
Um,
breaks down that barrier of natural, like you feel that that person is vibrating on the same frequency as you, and they're that suspiciousness, or just not trusting people. You'll find that that doesn't happen when you connect with the right people. It's just easy. You get off the phone feel, just like you said, when we had the phone conversation, you felt really up, you felt motivated, you felt the energy of that conversation. And I feel that that's the type of energy that we're working with right now, is not necessarily people who are taking from us, but people who can add on to what it is that we're doing.
Yeah. And Omar, did you have anything you'd like to say to that as well in the work that Organja does?
Definitely. The journey that we've been on from the beginning has really highlighted what Noni was speaking about. Um, when she was speaking of a time of separation, you can put it another way. Basically, it's a time of not alignment, because those people, that same soul tribe, that spirit tribe, are fighting one another. And even up till now, even up to currently, we get reminded of this. Like, we get reminded of this all the time,
All the time.
because we come across so many different people, and some people overstand what we're doing, some kind of shy away, some want to know more. But those who actually just, it's like they just roll up their sleeves and get involved, you can see that some take time. And even the time is good too, because some of the people who've taken time, and once they get it, they're filled with something different too, and their piece adds on. So there's no feelings in this. It's not a cliquish work. What it is the same thing that you all have been speaking of. It's a real spiritual connection first. And I think that even outside of our community, most of the social transformations that are happening have to start with spirit first in this world, regardless of where you come from, regardless of what ethnicity you are, regardless of what cultural experience you've had. It starts with spirit first.
I love that. And Trisha, would you like to add anything on to that connection of community for yourself?
Community is important. It is like the backbone of all that we do. You know what I mean? We can't do anything alone. Even when it comes on to being successful, thriving in life, we all need people. We all need a team. But just going back to what Noni says, it starts with self first. You have to do that inner work. And going right back to what Noni and I were talking about, is that emotional trauma, that stress, the mental health that a lot of people in the Black community are avoiding. Um, I remember that I had a very traumatic experience when between the ages of 19 and 22. And, my mom was trying to get me to go to therapy. And I was like, therapy? That's for white people. I'm not going to therapy. I don't need no therapy, you know? And it wasn't until I turned, um, well, I don't want to put my age out there, but it wasn't until like maybe 15 years later that I was like, you know what? I think I need to talk to somebody about this, because 15 years later, it's still bothering me. It's still affecting my life. It still hurts. You know what I mean? Um, and it wasn't until I actively started working on myself, going to therapy, doing meditation, just doing the things that I know that would make me wake up in the morning and feel better, feel at peace, look in the mirror and be happy with who I saw in that reflection. That's when things started to change in my life. And that's when, as what Omar was saying, I was able to attract my soul tribe. I was able to attract people into my life that were for me and not against me, right? So yeah, it's vital. It's vital, but we all have to put in that work of alignment within self first, so we can then fall into place with the right people, because not everybody's for everyone. And that is just the truth of it all. You know what I mean? And that's okay. That's okay. This is why we have teams. This is why we have certain communities and certain, pockets of things that need to happen amongst certain people. And it's beautiful, you know. So yeah, it's important, but again, self first.
Yeah.
If I may add on, also too, you have this whole gem that you get out of that work that Trisha and Noni are speaking of. You get purpose. That's what you
Yes.
get. You find purpose. And once you find purpose, your whole life, everything starts to fall in
Mhm.
alignment.
Yeah.
And you have a road, you have a path. And if we are to come together as a people, even economically, what has to happen is that first is we have to have an aligned purpose. You don't have to think about all the differences. Once you have an aligned purpose, you can look at the similarities, and it gives a collective direction rather than an
Mhm.
individual direction.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. And Jodi, is there anything you would like to add on about community and finding that soul tribe?
Yeah, I just mean I definitely believe in the law of attraction, and what you're vibrating inside, that energy that you're resonating, that's what's going to come to you as well. What you give out to the universe, that's what's coming back to you. And I'm a strong believer in that. I really think in terms of community, our strength is in is in our numbers, right? There's just it's so many of us, and if we can find a way to pool our economics, pool our knowledge, just share resources, I think that's when we're going to see the greatest success. So I'm just happy to be able to connect with more and more business owners and more people like Noni and Amari and Trisha and yourself as well, right? Because we just met each other. But these conversations and these safe places that we can talk and share amongst each other, I think this is where we start to grow and build from. So it's important.
I absolutely love that. And I will be reaching out because I want to get in that whole meditation circle. I know I need to get my herbs and my vitamins back up. And I definitely know I need that energy that you have, Jodi, that just fills a room when you see that smile. And Omari, thank you constantly for just giving your words of wisdom as well to us. And each of you, I honestly don't know what to say. I just so honored to be in your presence. I'm again energized. I'm again just excited to watch what happens over these next few years, what happens over these next even year, 365 days, as we continuously come together more and more. That that energy that is being built, that soul that is being built, is momentous. It is making a difference. We hear from BIPOC youth all the time about this show and seeing themselves and hearing themselves. So thank you for giving back your energy and being on this show today. You are unbelievably wonderful panelists. So thank each of you today.
Can I say one
Thank
thing,
you
Taylor?
so much.
Thank you for
One
having us.
thing I have to say. What's really beautiful, and nobody noted it here, is that we're all working together in one way or another.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful thing in itself. It's being exemplified right here. So I just had to point that out.
We'll give a round of snaps for that.
Oh,
And
shame.
continue those snaps throughout the year because I'm going to watch as y'all succeed and as y'all continuously excite me. So thank you again for being such wonderful panelists. And of course, to our producer, Neil, the Queen Company, Guelph Black Heritage Society, and Rogers Channel 20. It has been too long that the global majority has sat with little access to money, currency, health, land, well, just about anything. So when we talk about Black entrepreneurs, we know what their biggest challenges are, like marketing, networking, learning opportunities, and finance. And we know that generational healing must happen within our communities so that we can continue to be uplifted to the kings and queens that we always were. These things are not overnight. We know it takes a lot of effort, and so many folks like the fellow panelists that we have on today and the ones that we have had on since the start of Diverse and Converse. As always, make sure to visit our website, follow, engage, and then like Diverse and Converse. Check us out on Instagram because our wonderful bios, connections to their websites will all be listed there for our wonderful panelists today. And guests, thank you again from the bottom of my heart for coming on this show today and sharing your knowledge, your experience, your energy, all of that with not only me, but with all of our viewers today. And for everyone out there, remember, it's time to connect, commit, and change. Stay royal and have a great week.